Hi, my name is Rebecca Lee, and I co-wrote this book, The Mercury Detoxification Manual, A Guide to Mercury Chelation, with Andy Cutler, PhD, a brilliant and witty scientist who deserved to get a Nobel Prize for what he figured out. I'm going to preface this video with a plug for my online support group. Some people have been trying to join and got foiled by the Byzantine complicatedness of the platform. This is not our fault, and we are sorry. If you have trouble joining, send me an email to info@maybeitsmercury.com, and I will ask Mobeen, my tech person, to sort it out. Other people are instant messaging me and picking my brain. Guys, please don't do that. It took me 10 years to accumulate what I have in here, and it is how I make a living. If you have money, make an appointment. If you are poor, which I certainly can understand and sympathize with, join the support group. It is a mere $17 a month until the end of June, and you can cancel anytime. Then there is a link to the support group. I'll put a link to the support group below. My last couple of videos were about finding a real doctor, and about Dr. Jacob Teitelbaum, who I like a lot. But I ask, how come he doesn't know about Andy Cutler's work on mercury, toxicity, and about the proper use of alpha-lipoic acid in particular? Alpha-lipoic acid chelates mercury, and using it wrong moves mercury around and can make you worse, a lot worse. Chronic mercury is a politically fraught topic. As an example of how this plays out, consider Boyd Haley, who is a chemistry PhD at the University of Arkansas. He discovered that mercury is implicated in Alzheimer's disease. He said he thought when he announced this that a truckload with money from the National Institutes of Health was going to back up to his research lab's loading dock, but instead his funding got cut. Nobody wants to research mercury. It brings to mind the old Nasreddin Hodja story where Hodja is under a street lamp on his hands and knees looking for his keys. His friend starts helping him until Hodja admits that he lost his keys in the house. "So why are you looking for them out here?" his friend asks. And the answer is, because there's more light here. And this brings to my mind all the genetic research that's getting done on autism. So some people call the pharma, hospital, medical, and university system the cathedral. I guess it reminds them of the Catholic Church back in its heyday when it ran everything in Europe and had that nasty Inquisition. Thank goodness they don't burn witches at the stake anymore. I keep asking, how come people don't see this? But when you are wrapped up in the cathedral, there's not much chance to see outside the paradigm. There's a massive inertia, and I'll give a couple of anecdotes. My chiropractor told me that one of his patients had such bad liver problems that the Mayo Clinic or some such place had told her she was going to die. He did something that helped, and she recovered. What really struck me, he told me, is that not one of her doctors was interested in what she had done. He's been my chiropractor for 30 years. I first met him when I got diagnosed with Hep C. He did some of his chiropractic nutritional magic on me, and when I went back to the liver specialist, he looked at my test results and said, "Oh, perhaps this thing is going to resolve on its own." Same thing, he did not ask me what I had done. To prove that I'm not biased, not totally anyway, it did not resolve on its own, and I wound up 30 years later, on Andy's advice, taking the $85,000 drug that killed the virus. I was lucky to be able to get it. My advice in general to people is don't have too many opinions and use whatever works. Andy Cutler thought that 30 to 50% of society is poisoned with mercury. This massive society-wide poisoning is missed because we live in a paradigm that doesn't want to look at it. One reason is the fish industry. If people really took the fish mercury warning seriously, fishing would probably be put out of business. This book, Diagnosis Mercury, Money, Politics, and Poison, is about that. It's by Dr. Jane Hightower, MD. This is a great book, and I learned a lot about the historic use of medical mercury through it. This lady, Dr. Jane Hightower is probably a real doctor too. She doesn't know anything about chelation though, and she doesn't have anything to say about it. Second is the dental profession. They have been implanting mercury in people's mouths for 150 years and haven't stopped yet. The worst it is mainly the poor, the military, and Native Americans who are getting hammered by this crime against humanity, as Andy called it. I think the strategy now is to phase out amalgam and wait until all the toxic people have died and can't complain anymore. Finally, there's the use of thimerosal as a preservative in those products that must not be named. Anybody with eyes to see can see what that has done to our society. 50% of our children have some chronic affliction, including serious brain damage, and the young adults nowadays are as mad as hatters. Lead is a society-wide toxin too. Along with actual physical problems, it makes for angry, uncontrolled people who, depending on who they are, might do violent crimes like shoot up a room. Mercury makes for batshit, excessively eccentric and neurotic, reclusive, shy, and so forth. Not the sort of people who get out there and get heard, not the kind of people who get heard and believed. And since there are these legions of seemingly unrelated symptoms, the illness is very confusing. Like, who's going to listen or believe an eccentric, excessively shy person with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, anxiety, and depression, or whatever combo of the 150 possible symptoms they wound up with? Half the times the doctors are going to take them for crackpot malingerers. The best you can do for them is get them on psych meds and hope they don't come back too much. And they're going to be too debilitated to go out there and advocate for recognition if they have even figured out what's wrong. The cathedral that denies any of this is real is pretty hypnotizing and mesmerizing. Most people just wander around in the wilderness and take drugs. Well, I do my little part here with these videos. I hope you like them. Please like and share and get the word out. Maybe awareness will come about before the lot of us die of old age. And remember, there's a way out, there's a way through, and that is to chelate this crap out of your body and brain. So let's get this knowledge better understood. And the way you do that is to keep hammering on about it until people get used to the idea. After all, that's how the cathedral got so powerful. And please join my support group.